Hey, welcome to HVAC Animated. My name is Jeff Bennington. I'm a territory manager for a major brand, and I've been on a little hiatus the last few months. But today I'm back, and today's topic is, can your business survive a recession? So if things get tough, if the economy takes a turn, will you find yourself laying off employees that you may never get back? Will you accumulate debt with your vendors? Will you sell needed assets that your business owns, but you sell them just to get by? Or will you find yourself leveraging personal assets? These are all questions that you need to be thinking about if we have a recession coming in 2023. So stay tuned, and we're going to talk about 5 ideas to prepare you for a recession. A couple weeks ago, I went on a conference and I listened to an economist talk about the potential for a recession in 2023. And obviously, the basis for that is that the government and the Federal Reserve has printed so much money and put so much money into the economy that, like anything else, nothing's free. There is a price to pay for that. And usually, the American people pay that price. We're paying it now with inflation, and we're paying for it now with increased interest rates. But there's also another cost that in an economic downturn, that people just don't have money to spend. People get laid off. People lose their jobs. Now, whether or not that's going to happen or not is debatable, because the job reports seem to be so robust. But if we do experience some level of recession in 2023, I have 5 ideas to at least consider that might help you to prepare for a recession. Number 1, don't stop offering your premier products, but be prepared to shift to value products as folks tighten their wallets. And the reason I say that is because I've already seen a pattern where some of my dealers that I work with are telling me, yeah, my customers are tending to buy some of the lower tier items because they're cutting back. And that's true. But I wouldn't want to just make any assumptions about what everyone's doing. I would keep offering my premier products so that if somebody does want that and somebody isn't suffering, that you can get those jobs that put more profit into your business because you're going to need that cash. And then also be prepared if you are one of those dealers that sell a lot more high efficient and that middle of the road, maybe 16 SEER equipment. Be prepared to offer a lower value product if you haven't done that before. And the company I work for, we're real strong on the premier and mid and very robust products, but we also have a value line. So that's the kind of thing to think about with your distributor. Number 2, have financing options ready to deploy. If you have not been offering financing and that seems like that's working for your business, just consider this. The last several years have been pretty good years financially for the HVAC business and the U.S. and global economy. And the last 2 years have been a boom year for the heating and cooling and plumbing business. And if we enter a recession, for some dealers who may have only been in business for a few years, 5, 6 years, they may not have experienced a recession and experienced what it's like to have to scrape and fight for every job. So have financing available options now. Sometimes getting that set up takes a few weeks. So you don't want to get it caught off guard. And remember, my topic is how to prepare for a recession. So think Wells Fargo, Green Sky, or some of these high-risk financing options, because people could be, there could be a greater percentage of Americans at risk financially during a recession. So you want to be able to meet their needs as well. Think leasing options. I know Train has just rolled out a 10-year leasing program for customers. And be aware of and understand the Inflation Reduction Act. and how that's going to impact you, because you're going to need to understand, especially as the plans roll out in each individual state, you're going to need to be educated on that, because if you're not offering these credits and rebates as part of your offering while other dealers are, you're going to feel hurt, because it's a huge opportunity, especially for the middle to lower income Americans, to help them finance higher efficient heat pump systems. And that's actually a topic I'd like to spend just a whole video on. But moving on, number 3, decrease your overhead. If you want to prepare for a recession, and you've been enjoying these last couple boom years, and we're just coming off another peak season, and you've bought all the things, you've got all the tools, you got the new vans and the new wraps. If we come into a recession, and if this is your first recession, this may be the first time you're thinking about decreasing overhead. You may have a lot of people on staff that maybe you don't need. So here's a few things on decreasing your overhead. Number 1, if your business, you can't survive on a 40 to 45% gross margin, meaning if that is too low, your business can't not function like that, you just may be overweight in your overhead. There are a lot of businesses out there that 40 to 45% margin is their jam. And guess what? That means their prices could be lower. So if you're in that 50 to 60% range and you can't bump down on there, you probably got good salespeople. That's true. But in a recession, people may not be able to buy those higher ends. So just consider, is my overhead too high? Do I need to get my overhead reduced to a point where I have a little bit more flexibility on my gross margins when I'm pricing my jobs? So get flexible now. Eliminate any inefficient or low performing employees. Now you may not be ready to do that, because if you lose an employee now, you might not ever get them back, because let's face it, the labor market is still tight. And my wife, who's also an account manager, put it this way. When she was in her family business, they said, look, there's these employees that if one more thing happened or things started to take a downturn, this employee was circled. So circle the employees that maybe you can let go if things get tight. It's kind of the opposite of, if things are booming, you want some employees on the bench ready to go. Well, maybe you need to have some employees in your mind or in a document on the bench ready to go out. So, you don't obviously don't want to get rid of your best people. You really need to hang on to them in a recession, but maybe there's some that aren't as qualified, aren't as efficient, aren't as profitable, and just kind of know who those people are and be ready to let them go if needed. It's the last thing you want to do. People matter, obviously, so don't take that the wrong way. And the third part of decreasing your overhead, you may need to sell some of those unneeded assets. That van that's been sitting out there that is just, you've got it there on standby in case you need another service technician, but it's been sitting there for 2 or 3 years. You may need to sell that, especially in this time where it's hard to find vehicles. It may be a good time to get rid of some of those extra things, or all the things that are cluttering your shop. It may be a good time to sell some of those things, take the cash, and hang on to it. Which leads me to point number 4, accumulate cash. Knowing that we could be approaching a year of a recession, now is the time to stop spending cash. So many companies just, they take that money from a good time, from the boom years and from the peak seasons, and they get toys, and they get new things, and they get a new truck, and they'll do a full new wrap. All the things that cash is good for to help grow your company and to deploy that capital into things that grow your brand, those are important. But if we're going to be entering a recession, you don't want to be willy-nilly about spending your money. So hang on to your cash. Stop or reduce spending until we get through it. And there's really no other way to state that. Cash is huge. You need it. You need cash flow for your business, and you need capital so that you don't find yourself accumulating debt. Having said that, we're going to go to point number 5, because point number 5 is visit with your banker and negotiate the best terms for an open line of credit for your business. And this is one of the important points that the speaker that I listened to a couple weeks ago pointed out. And he said, listen, you don't want your business to suffer financially because of a recession. You may need to drop your prices. Your net profit may drop a little. I mean, you don't know exactly what's coming. You don't know if it's going to be super bad. You don't know if it's just going to blow over and be no big deal. But you want to be prepared, because if the economy as a whole is going through a recession and suffering, that means individuals and businesses across the board could be having more of a difficult time this year than the last couple of years. That means there could be more people that delay payment. There could be more people that default on payments. And you don't want that to be you. So if someone defaults on you or is late on payment, let's say a commercial project that said they'd pay you in 30, but they don't pay you in 60, your bills are still due in 30. So it's also important to have that open line of credit just to get you through, so that your credit doesn't suffer, so that your reputation with your vendors doesn't suffer. So visit your banker, negotiate the best terms for an open line of credit. And then I'll close with 3 quick points. Look, if your margins are already low, which means you're probably in that you could potentially be in that 3 to 5% net profit at the end of the day, and you have no significant cash on hand, no cash on your balance sheet, and you're short on leads, if we're entering a recession, you could be at risk. If that's the case, it's more than likely that you really just have a job and you haven't been running a business like a business. I know that might be hard for some people to swallow, but it's a truth. So a recession for you could be bad, or it could be the best lesson, the best business lesson you've ever had in your life. So if that's you, you're at risk. Take these points to heart and hang on to your cash. I urge you to hang on to your cash. Also, if you operate in that 50 to 60% margins and you have no cash or flexibility to drop margins, again, reiterating, your overhead has probably been bloated for too long, and you may need to thin the herd, cut expenses, whatever you can do, so that you're building right now, before you start losing money, start building some flexibility in your margins so that you can keep more jobs, keep your people working, and get through it without finding yourself in a bad place or at zero or at a negative net income, which means you're losing money, by the way. And finally, if cash on hand is healthy, if your overhead is already low, if you already have flexible margins, meaning you can price jobs at 55% margin and win those all day long, but you can also price your jobs at 40 to 45% margin and still do great. And still, if you're pushing 2-digit net profit at the end of every year, congratulations, because you're one of the few. That's a really difficult accomplishment. 10% net profit means your business has been operating well. Well, I say 10%, but I also say 2-digit. So anywhere in that 10% on up, if you're doing great, that's wonderful. I know companies that do well. They have that 10 plus, but they they also may not have the flexibility to come down. So anyway, if you're doing those things, great. You've beaten the odds. Likely you have a 2-digit net profit. Relax. Use this slower time to train your team, to reboot the shop, clean trucks, get organized, and prepare for a worry-free year into 2023, if that's you. The rest of us, just be prepared. Hope these points have been helpful. If they have, great. Like the video, subscribe for more. I will be getting back into making more videos. I've already gone through and made a whole list of other topics. I've also got some other people that I would like to add and maybe do some interviews with that I think you'll find interesting, educational. And so I guess just to close it off, I just also want to say, hey, thank you for those of you who have supported me and for those who actually subscribed during the last couple months that I've been off. And welcome back. And I hope you enjoyed this content. And also, if you really want to support me, one of the easiest ways you can support me besides liking the video and subscribing is to click the link in the description. Just click that, takes you to Amazon. Grab a copy. The book is HVAC Millionaire Mindset. Hope you like it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.